Western Pacific storm Fengshen sparking warnings across the coast of China on tonight's tropical weather bulletin. And now the latest around the wide world of tropics. Tropical Weather Bulletin for October 20th. Tropical Weather Bulletins are back, and hopefully in a bigger and better way, as we finally made the bridge onto new software, which is great news. And we're tracking quite a lot in the tropics right now, with several areas of interest across the Eastern Pacific and Atlantic. Of course, the big Atlantic system that we're watching out for. Look at the Indian Ocean sprawling with activity, and in the Western Pacific we have Fengshen over there, which doesn't currently have a circulation, even though it was a tropical storm yesterday over the Philippines. Well, in the Atlantic, day 142 of hurricane season, and we've got that area of interest with a moderate chance of development, Invest 98L. Could develop into a tropical cyclone as it moves through the Caribbean and possibly affect the Greater Antilles. In the Eastern Pacific, we've got two areas of interest that we've marked right now. One of them a bit further out to sea, the other one is a little bit further behind, on its way later on this week, and will be continuing west-northwestwards. Could become a storm. Well, in the Western Pacific, a blue typhoon warning in effect for parts of China there, and of course the main feature is what was Tropical Storm Fengshen. Still 45 mile per hour winds, looking decent, but not quite coupled together now with that circulation anymore. North Indian Ocean, two systems that we're watching right now. One of them moving into the Arabian Sea, chances are fairly slim now, but the other one has a higher chance of development and could affect the eastern coast of India later this week, so one to watch. That's N10 there. In the southern hemisphere, we have a tropical storm active as well, Cyclone Chenge, which is moving out towards the west and is actually looking pretty good. It is actually the fourth tropical cyclone already in the 2025-26 southern hemisphere season. Really incredible. And another system behind it as well, near Indonesia, that could also become a tropical cyclone. Nothing active in the South Pacific, but there's a significant system moving through Vanuatu and the Solomon Islands there, and down towards New Caledonia. Non-tropical, however. Checking in on Fengshen then, we're giving it an 80% chance of redeveloping into a fully fledged tropical cyclone. The winds are only on the northern quadrants. 45 mile per hour winds, pressure 997 millibars. Moving west-northwest. It is currently 543 kilometers from Hong Kong, 554 from Macau, 664 from Guangdong, 691 from Haikou on the island of Hainan, and 731 further north from Zhanjiang at the beginning of the Lizhu Peninsula. Likely to intensify over the next few days and could become a typhoon according to the JTWC, and I wouldn't fully oppose that forecast, calling for a brief typhoon peak before it really starts to weaken as it gets shepherded southwestwards along the frontal system boundary there, moving on towards the coast of Vietnam, weakening substantially as it does so. Subscribe to our YouTube channel so that you're always in touch with the latest tropical cyclone updates, as well as following us on social media, and you can also join our Discord server for tropical weather chat at any time on discord.gg/force13. Let's check in on satellite imagery then, and taking a look at what is Fengshen. Hesitate to call it a tropical storm because it probably isn't at this point, although it does appear to be showing signs of getting back together. Earlier on, ASCAP passes showed that the circulation was no longer there on the southern side, and possibly decoupling went on after it passed through the Philippines, and the Philippines really did a number on that circulation. It still had it just about when it was leaving the islands, but has lost it since then, and I'm pretty sure it will get it back. It tightens up again probably in the next 24 to 48 hours. But the system right now throwing up a huge amount of convection on that southeastern side in particular. Cloud tops going into the -90s in a few spots there, as we saw on that satellite. And this is some radar out of Hong Kong, a little bit more traditionally looking like an outer band of a tropical cyclone approaching the whole region there. Most of the heaviest of rainfall is staying offshore at this time. And that extends all the way up to Taiwan, which is really going to get a large amount of rainfall indirectly from this storm, throwing a large amount of rain through the northern part of Taiwan there on the mountains and even over Taipei. Here is the cyclone in the southwest Indian Ocean. No idea on the pronunciation on that one. It's probably Chenge, moving out towards the west-southwest. It was partially exposed earlier. It has got back some of that convection over the centre, and it's actually looking pretty decent. We're giving it 60-mile-per-hour winds right now, which certainly makes it the strongest of the southern hemisphere storms so far this season, which really isn't supposed to be starting properly yet, but here we are, 4 storms in the southern hemisphere, with significant convection there on that western side. This system is most likely not going to affect any significant land areas, although 1 or 2 islands of the Seychelles may be receiving it as a depression later on this week. Here is Invest 98L, the system that's developing in the Atlantic, entering the eastern Caribbean now, throwing up large amounts of convective thunderstorms over northern Venezuela, but the general central part of the system still leaves much to be desired. It looks a little bit better on radar, but looking at satellite imagery at the moment, it still has quite a long way to go. There's the radar imagery. You can see a little bit of general rotation going on there, but nothing tight at all. So a lot of work needs to be done. But of course, the Atlantic at this time of year, it is definitely achievable. Here is the southeastern Indian Ocean system. We're just off the coast of Indonesia now, looking at this next system. That's another Invest 95S. That's also throwing up large amounts of convection. There's a small chance it develops very soon, but it's more likely that if this does develop, it will be later on down the line as it starts to sidle on through the South Indian Ocean towards the west. This is Invest 92A, another area of interest now. This one in the Arabian Sea. Very little of it, as you can see. It's a very, very broad system, and that trend is going to continue for the next few days as it trundles towards the west-northwest. Probably won't make it to Ireland towards the coast of Africa. This is Invest 93B, if I'm not mistaken, looking very poor, which is why we've not taken a look at it for a long time there. But that is a system that is likely to become, or could become, a tropical cyclone later on in the Bay of Bengal. Here's the east coast of the United States, looking out to sea there on some visible images and looking down towards the Caribbean region. There's that Invest on the right-hand side, and on the left there's a significant plume of cloud there just off the coast of Panama, not likely to develop into anything and hasn't been marked by anyone. Eastern Pacific system there on the right hand side, a very tiny little swirl going on there towards the right. A small system, that's the one that we've given a 20% chance on. The other one that we've given a higher chance to hasn't made itself visible yet, so we won't be looking at that. There's also a few satellite outages at the moment, so we can't show you any better imagery of Fengshen, I'm afraid. So we're straight to the the Arabian Sea there, and towards the southwest Indian Ocean. We have a wide shot now showing the cyclone, which is actually quite large, pushing on slowly towards Madagascar, but it won't get there. Well, sea surface temperatures, of course, are plenty warm over there in the Atlantic. Of course, the Caribbean Sea is the hottest point now at this time of year, as it is most times of the year. The Cayman Islands is pretty much where it's at now, 32 degrees possibly there, but that system that could be going on to affect the Greater Antilles around 30 degrees. Off the coast of Mexico, looking good as well, up to 30 degrees in a few spots. That next system shouldn't be making landfall there, but we'll keep watching. Western Pacific, very warm sea surface temperatures out over the Philippine Sea, a little bit cooler now in the South China Sea. That's going to become more pronounced over the next few weeks. East China Sea is still looking very good there, north of the Ryukyu Islands. Maybe a surprise or two up there, but nothing apparent right now. North Indian Ocean, Bay of Bengal looking good. Arabian Sea really drops off a cliff the further that Invest moves west. Same too with the southern Indian Ocean, which we didn't get to see there. Those temperatures do drop off quite a bit as Cyclone Chenge gets towards the coast of Madagascar and the Seychelles. A little bit below average in one small spot there near the equator over there. But the rest of the Indian Ocean looking warm. Western Pacific is generally above average as well. Eastern Pacific still quite a cool area there, even though it is above average this season for storm activity. Atlantic looking good. Caribbean and Gulf of Mexico still pretty much untapped. Lots of energy there and activity possible. Of course, it is getting later in the season, but those homegrown systems could be a menace. Oceanic heat content looking good for the Western Pacific. Significant values over there
Not so much in the South China Sea, though. Fengshen moving away from it now. And then looking here at the Caribbean Sea, looking very good as well. The further west Invest 98L gets, the more energy will be on tap for it. And models are still split over just how far west it's going to get. GFS seems pretty heavy set on it reaching the Dominican Republic, which we're about to see right now as we take a look at the computer models. So this is the GFS taking a pretty sharp turn at some point south of Haiti. There it goes, and becoming a hurricane, and possibly getting towards major hurricane status there before landfall in the western Dominican Republic. I don't think that's very far from Santo Domingo, as a matter of fact. Moving northeasterly there as a significant hurricane, pressure in the low 960s according to that GFS forecast. It is the only major forecast model that is currently showing a landfall there, however. Western Pacific, you can see Fengshen there riding that front, moving on into Vietnam, dropping down, losing strength, looking rather disheveled by the time it gets there, but it does briefly peak as a typhoon. And then looking at the Indian Ocean as well, there's that next system, that 50% chance. There it is developing towards the end of that 5-day period. There it is, quite a broad system actually. Tropical storm, although the pressure does get fairly low into the low 990s, so it might be interesting to see just how strong that can get. And there's a Chenge down there, moving slowly towards the west or west-southwest before really starting to struggle as it gets towards the Seychelles, but still might hold some significant strong winds there when it does get there in a few days, just towards the end of that 5-day period. Here's the rainfall in the Western Pacific zone in the next 7 days. So we're taking a look at that whole region that will be affected by Fengshen and the front that it's sort of attached to right now. It's trying to push into, and looking at those rainfall amounts there for Vietnam later on when it arrives, going up towards 16 inches, 400 millimeters. Along the coast of China, really not very much in terms of rainfall actually, but take a look at Taiwan. Even though not being directly affected by the storm, the influence of it is going to produce very large amounts of rainfall in northern Taiwan according to that forecast model. Next 7 days, 27 inches of rainfall, which is nearly 600 millimeters. And if that wasn't crazy, this is in the longer range in the Atlantic, day 5 to 10. Look at the enormous size of Invest 98L as it really starts to shake itself off the Greater Antilles and off towards the northeast. Just really balloons in size because it's stalling so much there. I'm really not sure if that will happen, but I gotta tell you, at one point there, the wind diameter for tropical storm force winds is 900 miles and becomes a significant hurricane as it moves off towards the northeast there. Eastern Pacific, in comparison, not quite as exciting. A weak tropical storm, or at least a small tropical storm there. That is that medium chance that we're giving for later on in the week. And there it is, 26th, 27th of October there, peaking as a moderate, maybe a strong tropical storm, but really not affecting anyone and staying away from land, which is what we like to see.
Check out our store page for Force 13 related merch, as well as our full season and individual storm animations on request by you. Also, if you like our work, please check out our YouTube memberships. Check the join page on our YouTube channel, youtube.com/force13/join.
Well then, let's take a look at the fantasy range, which is what everyone loves. Don't forget, this is quite far out, day 10 to 16, so I wouldn't put much faith in what we see here. But it's the Western Pacific and the Indian Ocean that we're looking at for 2 potential new systems towards the early days of November now. A storm that tries to develop there as it moves in towards the coast of the Philippines. Typical for a late season system, it struggles to get the complete circulation rounded off. It eventually looks like it just about manages to do it. Does it hold on? That's a big question mark. In the Indian Ocean though, a bit of luck there for a small tropical cyclone as it moves westerly towards India. Well, let's go back to on this day in 1959 when we had quite a few systems active, but the big one was a Category 5 active on this day and heading for Japan. Typhoon Dina, which operationally some agencies have it extremely high in intensity. Our estimate 160 miles per hour. We also have the remnants of Charlotte moving off as a powerful extratropical cyclone from the Japan eastwards. Judith on its last legs as a hurricane in the North Atlantic, moving out past Bermuda towards the northeast, and Tropical Storm 11E, which was moving towards Mexico but never made it. Well, back to today then, and in the Atlantic Ocean, the next storm name is Melissa. In the Eastern Pacific, it's Sonia. And in the Central Pacific, the next name is Lala. So far, we have had 86 storms in 2025. It picked up, didn't it? Because we're not far from the average now. In the Western Pacific, we've already had Fengshen, and I'm afraid to tell you that I actually don't know the next name on the list at this point. I've been out of it for so long. But we'll let you know soon. And in the North Indian Ocean, the next name now is Mantha. The Australian region starts with Fina. The Southwest Indian Ocean, the next name now is Dudsai. We're really getting through those names. And in the South Pacific, the next name here is Ermal. It's good to be back. Hopefully we'll get a more regular schedule on the bulletins. We hope to see you again soon.